He has one of cinema's most recognisable faces. His unmistakable appearance has graced over 110 movies in the last 39 years. Willem Dafoe delights in playing dark, tortured souls, depraved psychos, loners and outcasts. His demonic stare originally won him these roles, but he has gone on to prove he is a versatile actor who refuses to be typecasted as the villain. Predominantly starring in indie and cult films, with the odd mainstream blockbuster here and there, he throws himself into his roles. He's played Jesus, Van Gogh, the Green Goblin, Bobby Peru, Pasolini. He's conversed with a fox. He's worked with directors such as Martin Scorsese, David Lynch and Lars von Trier. He's been nominated for an Academy Award on 3 occasions, and yet conversely, he's been nominated for 2 Golden Raspberries for Worst Actor twice. His over-the-top facial expressions in Speed 2 have become a meme. He's up there as one of the actors who have had the most on-screen deaths.
Holy shit, you got him!
He has kicked the bucket 28 times in his 110 films. That means he's died in nearly a quarter of all of his movies. He is unique in the world of acting, but is he really as strange off-screen as he sometimes seems on-screen? When all is said and done, we are all strange, but Dafoe is just a little bit stranger than most. Willem came from a large family. He was the 7th of 8 children. It was a very busy and chaotic household. Dafoe's dad was a doctor and his mum was a nurse. From time to time, Willem liked to lock himself in a cupboard, and on one occasion he stayed there for 2 days, and none of the family noticed he was gone. Dafoe says, "When I was a kid and the astronauts went on the first space missions, I was fascinated by the idea of being in a capsule for a long time. I would lock myself in a closet with some food and try to stay there for a whole weekend. I had an astronaut fantasy." He was always doing crazy stuff to create a stir, says his brother Richard. "I remember once when he was 10 or 12 years old, he got a hold of a gorilla costume and climbed the side of a building in downtown Appleton, like King Kong." Dafoe once used his high school's camera to film a documentary for a school project, but it ended with him getting expelled once the principal saw it, as he deemed it to be an adult film. Willem plays this down by saying, "It wasn't really rude, it was just a film about weirdos, including nudists. I was just a young boy in Wisconsin. Anything to get out of there." Willem's first acting job was on Michael Cimino's mega flop Heaven's Gate, a film that failed so badly it bankrupted Studio United Artists. Dafoe appears briefly in the film as a cockfighter. According to Dafoe, his role was supposed to be much larger, but during a long lighting setup, Dafoe laughed out loud at a joke that an extra told him. Michael Cimino was so annoyed that he fired Dafoe on the spot, and he is uncredited in the final cut of the film. He can't recall what the joke was about, but he remembers it was something dirty.
We're doing a lighting setup, and Michael Cimino was very precise, and he was waiting for the right light, and we were all in full costume, full makeup, standing in place for 8 hours. And you know, you got to raise your hand like a little kid to go to the toilet or anything like that. And a woman next to me told me a dirty joke, and I laughed. And Michael Cimino, who had his back to us at the moment, heard this, turned around and said, "Willem, step out." And everybody was like, and I laughed, and I went to my hotel. I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Just go to your hotel." And that was it.
You're kidding.
Good start.
And now for the elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant trunk in the room. Much has been said about Willem Dafoe's, mostly about the size of his. It's well known that any mention of his to Dafoe in interviews is not a good idea. Willem Dafoe starred in Lars von Trier's experimental horror Antichrist,
I am the best film director in the world.
And whilst promoting the film, von Trier talked about Dafoe's and the problems it caused on set. At a press conference, Lars von Trier engaged with an interviewer. Von Trier said, "He's extremely well equipped, and we had to kind of take the scenes out of the film. We had a stand-in for him. We had to take the scenes out with his own." Interviewer: "Hold on, you had a stand-in? You had to have a stand-in for Dafoe?" Von Trier: Yes, we had to have, because Willem's own was too big." Interviewer: "Too big to fit in the screen?" Lars von Trier: "No, too big because everybody got very confused when they saw it." Dafoe once nearly had a wallaby explode in his face. In the film Hunter, the actor plays the role of a man who must find and kill the last Tasmanian tiger, and in one scene, he had to skin a wallaby, and he had to be incredibly delicate with the deceased creature in case its gastric juices burst. He said, "When it came to skinning the wallaby, I only had one chance at it because they only had one animal. They said, listen, it's been dead for a while. The gastric juices have been building up and it's quite bloated. If you do this incorrectly, it's gonna explode in your face." Dafoe is the only actor to ever be nominated for an Oscar for playing a vampire. Dafoe played Max Shrek in horror film Shadow of the Vampire. The film is a fictionalized account of the making of the classic vampire film Nosferatu. As Shrek, Dafoe is a jittery, jumpy, sneaky mass of long claws, fangs, vanity, and loneliness.
What's interesting is usually I like to start from a place of not knowing where I'm going to start, but here was a case where I really knew what my process was going to be, because as soon as I knew we were going to be cross-cutting with the original, I knew that I would start from a place of imitation, and I also knew that I'd have to look like Shrek, so I had an idea of what I was going to look like. It was quite extreme. I had lots of information, and I was excited to do that.
It's an absorbing tour de force performance, and he was robbed of the Oscar. But it was this role that got Dafoe the job as the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. He received the offer after the producers had watched his vampiric performance as Max Shrek. The Green Goblin is the role that Dafoe is most well known for. It was a rare appearance for him to feature in a big blockbuster mainstream movie. Dafoe performed 90% of his own stunts. The Green Goblin's costume was originally designed to be more bulky and armoured, but Dafoe, having decided to film his own stunts, rejected it in favour of a more streamlined and athletic costume. The final outfit was composed of 580 pieces and took Dafoe half an hour to put it on. Dafoe once lent his voice to a glove puppet polar bear for a series of adverts for Bird's Eye frozen food back in 2011.
Hey, Jackie. You know, some frozen peas can be, how can I put it, unpredictable.
His menacing voice was an interesting choice. Dafoe states that the ad agency said, "He may only be a glove puppet, but he needs integrity." Dafoe went on to say, "When they first pitched this idea to me, it sounded really cool. I thought it was going to be an animated polar bear inside a refrigerator, scolding people. But when I saw the glove puppet, that was a head scratcher. I guess people found a charm in it. That's not my main work though." One of Dafoe's many death scenes is the infamous scene in Platoon. The slow motion scene of the death of Sergeant Elias, set against the heartbreaking score of Adagio for strings, is an iconic moment in cinema history. Dafoe got seriously ill whilst on set. During filming, Dafoe got thirsty and drank water from a river, not knowing that a dead pig was not far upstream. He allegedly contracted yellow fever and was out of action for 2 days on the set of Platoon. Dafoe has turned down some acting roles that went on to be iconic. Before Dafoe played psycho gangster Bobby Peru in David Lynch's Wild at Heart, he was offered the role of Frank Booth in Blue Velvet. but Dafoe turned it down. Of course, Frank Booth went on eventually to be brought to life by Dennis Hopper. Dafoe was also in the running for playing the Joker in Tim Burton's Batman. Screenwriter Sam Hamm said that Dafoe was physically perfect for the part, but unfortunately, although they did consider it, the offer never came in. The role eventually went to Jack Nicholson. Dafoe is soon to appear in The Lighthouse. It's director Robert Eggers' follow-up to his 2015 breakout film, The Witch. So what do you think is Dafoe's best performance, and what is his best film? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for listening. See you later.